When a manufacturer increases the case size, you naturally expect the watch to look and wear bigger. And you sometimes may even have concerns that the watch may wear or look a little too big for your liking or preference. But when that manufacturer is Rolex, you can pretty much rest assured that the product they've released hasn't come out without a lot of deliberation, research and development, and after taking into consideration all the design elements that matter for the looks, collectability, desirability, wearability, and last but not the least, the timelessness. If we have learned anything from about a century-long history of Rolex as a brand, that is, they don't make watches for a year, or for a decade, or even for one generation. They make watches that last longer than human lives. And the way they protect their identity and value is that a Rolex from yesterday is even more sought after and desirable today than it was yesterday. This is the power of the brand. And with the new release of Explorer 40, if you thought that Rolex might have gone wrong, you might want to take a little closer look at the new model. While the size of 40mm in Explorer would suggest that the new model is bigger, bolder, and taller to wear, that may not be very true. And I will explain a little more during the course of this video and share some interesting details that may simply change your mind about the new 40mm Explorer versus the old 39mm model. For the same, I'm putting them side by side and sharing some details that are beyond just the obvious. Starting off with the differences on the dial, you can see that the word Explorer has moved from 6 o'clock position in the older 39mm model to just below 12 o'clock in the new 40mm model. The font and the spacing for the text have also changed slightly, as you can see in the word Explorer and Oyster Perpetual. Another difference is the dial hands, and if you look closely at the hour hand, you can see that the tip of the Mercedes hand is much more pointed in the new reference as opposed to the older 39mm model. The dial hands are also a little wider and chunkier in the new reference, aligned with its supposed bigger size. I will talk about it a little more in my Lume short comparison clip shortly. You can also notice a printed Rolex logo just below 6 o'clock hour marker, which would be your easy giveaway to pick up which one is the latest 40mm model. Another very interesting difference to note is the dial color. That is, the 39mm model has a matte and greyish black color, as opposed to the new Explorer 40, which has a glossy and jet black dial, as you see in the Submariner and GMT. Between the two, the new model does also offer a richer contrast in the dial, due to the same darker shade of black used for it. This is further complemented by the crystal in the new model that has anti-reflective coating on the inner side, as opposed to the older 39mm model, which does not come with any coating on the crystal. Hence the reason the dial clarity is also superior in the new model. Speaking about the sizes measured at the outer extremity of the bezel, the 39mm model measures at 38.3mm versus the new 40mm model, which measures at 38.6mm. So while Rolex marketed as a 1mm bigger watch, the face of the watch is really a quarter of a millimeter bigger. That is hardly even noticeable. Measuring the size of the crystal, or let's say the size of the dial on the watch, it is 32.2mm for the older reference and 32.7mm for the new Explorer 40. That is, the dial or the crystal is about half millimeter bigger in the new model. If you measure the case sizes at 2 to 8 o'clock position, they are true 40mm and 39mm cases when measured from the case size. The most interesting part, however, is that while the new model has half millimeter bigger dial, it actually wears smaller than the older 39mm model. How interesting is that? This is where we speak of lug-to-lug size, which is 47.3mm for the older model Explorer 39 and measuring the same lug-to-lug on the new 40mm model, it measures at only 46.4mm. That is, it actually wears 1mm smaller than the older 39mm reference. And you may find the Explorer 40 to wear better for your wrist if you found the Explorer 39 as a touch too larger for your wristband. Another difference that changes the way the new Explorer 40 looks is the bracelet width. That is, we have a 21mm bracelet in the new Explorer 40 as opposed to a 20mm bracelet in the older reference. The bracelet in the newer model also tapers down to a wider size and has a clasp that is 18.5 mils as opposed to the previous model 39, which has the width of the clasp at 17.6 mils. Putting them side by side up close or even from distance, you do see and note the wider bracelet on the new model. Measuring both of the watches with 10 links and size to about 17 inches wrist, the weight of the previous model 39 is 130 grams as opposed to the weight of new model Explorer 40, which is 135 grams. That is marginally heavier. The thickness of the case of the older model is 11.2 mils as opposed to the new model, which is 11.5 mils. Speaking about the lume of the watch, you can notice a very consistent and similar lume in both of these watches, while still noticing the wider and more prominent hands on the new model. You can also notice that the lume circle in the seconds hand is much bigger in the new model as compared to the older 39mm reference. I left the watches in the dark for another 5 minutes and you can see that the new model retained its lume brightness considerably better than the previous Explorer 39. Which one is a better watch of the two is really an incorrect question. Which one is more suitable for you is, however, a more appropriate question. The new Explorer 40 is indeed an improved watch with better movement, better crystal and overall smaller lug-to-lug for an easier wearability. But that does not change the fact that it doesn't have what the previous model, the Explorer 39, had. A matte black dial, the name Explorer, that was more adequately spaced at 6 o'clock position, a more elegant and narrower bracelet, a little smaller size due to a little smaller dial. And that is exactly why every Rolex that is discontinued becomes collectible, and that remains the same for the Explorer 39. So while the new Explorer 40 replaced the 39 on the website, with all the modern features, improvements and refinements, it only complements it in a watch collection and in the collector's world.